What's happening, everybody? Willie here at the Great Outdoors. You know, when I changed the name of the channel, I guess it's kind of like taking over someone else's business, like buying in and buying their business, and you kind of get whatever was left over that they had to deal with. I'm not the greatest with technology, as we all know. That's why I deal with a lot of old stuff. But emails and things like that, I've recently found out that I've missed emails and questions that have come in, and fortunately I haven't missed very many. I don't feel too bad, but I have to feel kind of bad because I don't like to not answer anybody. I want to make sure everybody gets a reply and everybody gets an answer to the best of my ability. Well, a couple of questions got missed. Like a previous video about, you know, the knives and multi-tools that I like to use and why I use them. And I just figured, since all 7 of you watched it, I might as well answer the next question as well, which is one of those questions I accidentally missed. And it's a question that has been plaguing the fishing community for millions of years. I mean millions of years. And that question simply is, Johnson Century or Johnson Citation? Which one is yours? Which one do you like? You may not like either one of them, but that was the question and I'm going to answer it. So maybe this time 12 of you will watch. But that's what it's all about, the Century and the Citation. Now, we can talk a little bit about the differences in the Century and the Citation, but there really is only one major player, and I'm going to show you that really quick here. Now, this is a 110A, okay? It's a 110A, which was the 3rd version technically, because there was a 110, a 110-A, and then a 110A. So this is your 3rd version, just before they got to the B. This is a Century 100B, okay? That's right, this is a B, so the 3rd version. So you have your 100, your 100-A, and then your 100B. No, this is the 4th version. So it'd be the 100, the 100-A, the 100A, and then the 100B. You see how complicated that gets? And you wonder why I miss emails. Anyway, that has been a question for quite some time. Is like, the Century and the Citation, what was the major difference here? Well, really, I mean, I'm going to take the caps off and kind of show you, because there's really not a whole lot of difference in there other than, well, let me just say this. Let's just say this. Johnson had a tendency to change things and to modify stuff. And they did change and modify based on the same design, the same product, like the 100 and the 110. Now, obviously, I'm going to give you your first visual difference. The size of the rotor. Okay? There's a difference there. Now, you can also see a plastic nut to hold the rotor on there, where you have the old acorn nut up top of there on these. You have a beveled or rolled edge on the rotor, which is pretty much the same. You still have your same drag setup with the knob there in the same way that it pushes against it. So really, you know, when you went out to buy one of these things, did you go out deliberately to buy a Century, or did you go out deliberately to buy a Citation? Did you actually go out to buy either one? Did you go out at all? Well, you should have, because now she's married somebody else. The whole idea behind these reels really was based upon the same principle. A reel, something that functioned okay and did what it was supposed to do, got you out there on the water. Now obviously the difference in size of the rotor gave you a little bit different gear ratio when on retrieve. So what we're going to do today, we're going to take these two reels, the 100B and the 110A. See, there's no dash. B. Hope you could see that. B. If you also notice that for whatever reason, they put the name on sideways on there, and then they put the name up and down on there, so when you're actually fishing with it, it's, you know, with this, when you're fishing with it, it's, you know, you can read it. Now, will that help me in the catching fish? Well, yeah, I think so. I think if the fish are able to read what name the reel is, they'll discuss whether or not they want to bite that. Your buttons on these things, they were pretty much the same. They had just started doing that whole concave thing on the A, as you can see there. By the time the B rolled around, it had turned to white instead of black. But they were pretty much still the same. Where on the older models, here's a Century 100. Okay, we're just going to look at that. We're going to look at the trigger real quick. Notice that the button, you just got, if the crank won't in the way, notice the button. Just a flat piece of plastic, really just bent into a quarter moon so you can have a place to put your thumb. Now, I never cared for these because my thumb always slides off. So I always use these on fly rods. Put them on the bottom because all I got to do is grab the line here, click the button with my left hand, boop, again, boop. Just how it goes. Here's a 110-A. See, when we got into the dashes, you see, we still had that flat button. It wasn't until you got into the no dashes, no dancers, no prancers, no vixens, that you had just that rounded button. That's just how it works. Take a dash out and what do you get? You get a concave button. You can put your finger in and actually press and cast. Let's get these things on some rods, go out to the lake. We're going to put a worm on, we'll put a jig on, and we're going to cast as far as we can possibly cast. See if we can catch us a few fish, and see if we can really tell a difference in these things at all. Because, you know, I use them so frequently that they all kind of run together after a while. Let's head out to the water. See you there. Let's do some fishing. Boo, I'm going fishing. You're on your own. You have to make your own lunch. It's cold out here. First thing this morning, I believe it was 46 degrees. But there's no wind today. It's nice and calm. The first one we're going to go with is the 100B. Now, as I said, the 100B or the 100 in general, the Centuries, have been my problem children. They're the ones I normally have the most issues with. And all of them are silly issues sometimes. Line getting bound up in between the spool and the rotor, that kind of stuff. I've changed the line, went to some 6-pound Mr. Crappie on this one. We're going to try it today. Got it on an OTX. You want to know the specifics of the OTX? Let's see here real quick. 6'8", 6 to 12 pound line. What do we got? A 3/16 to a 5/8 ounce, and the action's medium. Okay. What you're typically going to find on the shelf in Walmart. And of course I took care of that little gap that just irritates me. So anyway, we're going to cast this thing, see how it works out. Cross our fingers and hope it does well. And do our little experiment, or whatever you want to call it here, between the Century and the Citation. Can't believe I even hooked him. I didn't have the drag set, and I ripped back on it, and all I heard was whee, which I'm sure you probably did too. He's just a little guy. Now, one of the things I'm noticing with this particular reel, I am not going to lie to you, this particular Century, it's been a problem child since the day I got it, and it acts like it doesn't want to pick the line up. It doesn't matter what size line you put on it, it never wants to pick the line up. I don't understand it. The retrieval pin comes out plenty far. Swimming right toward me. That's not too terribly bad right there. He had me going though, man. He swam right at me. All the slack in the world in my line by swimming at me like that. And I honestly thought he was getting off, but he didn't. Not huge, but they're biting, and that's what matters. By the way, I didn't know if I told you or mentioned it, but this is a scimitar by Shimano. Not an overly expensive rod. It's a good looking rod. I'm not joking, it actually is made really well. But it wasn't an expensive rod, if I'm not mistaken. I think I paid like 29 bucks for this thing. Let me tell you what I can tell you about it. 7 foot, 8 to 15 pound line. Lure weight is going to be 1/4 ounce to, what does that say? 5/8, and it's a medium power. I usually have a bait caster on this, which is why this rod looks really new. There he goes to the bushes. Don't go to the bushes. Please don't go to the bushes. He tried to go to the bushes. Let me squat down here. He's not big, but he bit, and that's what matters. I can definitely notice a difference in the retrieve between a 100 and a 110. Now the 110, of course, has a bigger rotor, so it's a little bit more real estate it's trying to cover in there. So it is a little bit harder, but I guess your retrieve is probably quicker. That might be the first time I've ever caught a fish standing here. Oh my goodness. That one's not playing. He's going downstream, folks. Come on. Please don't get tangled up in the bushes. Well, I was about to sing I fought the bush and the bush won, but I fought the bush and I won. Not a bad fish. Here I am. Not a bad fish. And he is probably stunned as he can be, so I'm going to get him back in the water quick. He decided he was swimming to the left, and of course that's where all the bushes and everything are at. He got pretty hung up in them. Already caught a pretty good size one on the 110, so kind of in my head I still have an idea how that felt, how it went. We're going to switch back to the 100B and throw her a few more times and see if we can catch anything that's, you know, comparable in size to what that one was over there. And then we can share some opinions. So I guess the 100 is just supposed to catch little fish, and then the 110, being the bigger brother, is supposed to catch the bigger fish. That's about all I can figure at this point. Just another guppy. We might have found that comparable fish. Are you kidding? Right there? How do the big ones keep doing that to me? That would have been the end of the video, right there. I could have got out of the cold weather and gone in. Had a corn dog, orange crush, done an outro, and bam, done. But no. Hello, Steve. I love the blue and white. It's the red and white, blue and white. They're just classic. You know, they're what they used to look like. I don't want to be looking in the rearview mirror and, you know, all of a sudden there's handlebars there and then there's no handlebars. You know, and you got it in 2020 or 2021. When did you? Well, that's the other question. What part of Nag State are you in? I want to put dirt tires on one of them. I want a knobby, one of the monkeys I want a knobby tire on, because the tires that come on the monkey, when you go on a gravel road, you can't hold it steady. Well, we're back. That's right, we're back. My back hurts, as a matter of fact. Casting them long rods, 7-footers and stuff, makes my back hurt. Catching those big fish and getting them hooked in bushes and around trees, and that makes my back hurt too. Hurts my feelings as well. But we got that one big fish out of the bushes, and that's what matters. Because fish don't belong in bushes. You don't ever hear anybody say that 2 fish in your hand are worth 1 in the bush. Never. You'll never hear that. You just did, so I retract that statement. But I got it out of that bush regardless, and that's what mattered, and we saved his life, and we managed to hold on to the fish and get him back in the water so we could catch him another day, hopefully. But here's what I've determined. I've took them back off the rods here. This particular 110, A, no dash, A. It's a very, this is a reel with no bearings, okay? It has almost no gear growl whatsoever, none. I mean, it's very little, if any. And it casts a really long way. But what I have noticed is when you are reeling in a larger fish, there's a lot of tension. It's a little harder to reel in. And you know, you're dealing with drag, literally, and no joke, no pun intended. Because you got line that is going to cross a little pin, and all of that tension from that big fish is on that pin and that line, and you have to drag it around the inside of that thing. And it's going around in a circle in there. And it's not like it's a bait caster where it's just reeling up on a spool or anything like that. And you know, they're older, but the distance that this thing will cast, the ease of how well that thing spins for a reel with no bearings is really impressive, and it did a good job. Now, the 100, she's a little bit tougher. She's not as free-flowing. Button's a little shakier, a little bit more worn in, I think. Let's see here. Yeah, a little bit more wore in. Now, one of the things I want to talk about real quick here, we're dealing with used equipment. So, for me to tell you that one's better than the other, it can be easy actually to say, because you don't know the life that the reel has led. You don't know what got it to where it's at. You don't know how it was mistreated or treated the greatest ever. You just don't know. So comparing these two, I've got to go with nothing more than the physicality, the specifications of what these things do differently, as opposed to the oh, I don't know, the broke in, you know, like a baseball glove, you know, that's been broke in and it feels good, as opposed to that brand new stiff feeling where you have to oil the glove up, put the baseball in there and hold it overnight and all that stuff. These reels are the same way, because these gears are meshing, they've been used, so one may be used more than the other. I gotta say that I've owned a lot of these Johnson reels, Centuries and Citations. I don't know that I've got one that acts like another. I just don't think I do. They all have their own personality. They all have their own way. I have two 100s over here that were brand new in the box, never even had line put on them. And I mean brand new, never used. No signs of any line being mounted ever, no scars, no nothing. And they both operated differently. They both acted differently. So I think back in the day, it was just like putting your dime in the bubblegum machine. You didn't know what you were going to get until you spun that thing and it popped out in your hand and you went to chew it and found out that it was stale, or it was fresh and they just put it in there a couple weeks ago. What a terrible analogy that was. So your reels are the same way. I think you could have got one that may have just everything meshed and everything was great and wonderful, or you could have got one that things just weren't working out right. Because I'm going to tell you, this one right here, this particular 100B, this has been this reel has been a trying reel. I used to have terrible times with the line getting stuck in between the spool and the rotor. Don't know why. But it does function well, it reels well. Not obviously as loose as the 110 does. This 110A help me understand, I don't know. Just a very good, well-made, good functioning reel. So which one, what the whole idea behind this was, I was asked which one, what would I go right to firsthand? I would say if I had two reels, if I had these two reels right here, just these two, and that's all I had, this 100B and this 110A, that if I were to go out to the water, this 110A would probably be the one I would take. Mainly because it's been less problematic, I should say, and how easily it functions. So anyway, hey, I hope that answered your question. I appreciate you guys watching. This was just a shorty just to answer a question that came in. I hope your question was answered. And I need to get back out there. Got another video coming up that ought to be pretty doggone interesting. You're going to go, what? I mean, that's what you'll probably say. Oh my. I know that's what my wife's going to say if she lets me live in the house anymore. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate you. And we will see you on the next one, whatever the next one may be. Boom, I'm hungry again. That's right. Finished the video and I'm hungry. What are the odds? Anybody put any money on that?